They sold you a lie. From the moment you could understand words, they programmed you with the same message. Be good. Be kind. Be selfless. Put others first. Turn the other cheek. Good things come to good people. But look around you. Look at who's actually winning. Look at who has power, money, influence. Are they the good people? Or are they the ones who understood that morality is a luxury only the powerful can afford? Today I'm going to tell you something that will either free you or offend you. Something Niccolò Machiavelli discovered 500 years ago that still makes people uncomfortable. Something that explains why your goodness hasn't brought you success, why your kindness hasn't earned you respect, why your selflessness hasn't made you happy. The truth is simple. Stop trying to be a good person. Not because being good is wrong, but because trying to be good is making you weak, exploitable, and ironically, less capable of doing actual good in the world. Machiavelli watched good rulers get overthrown by ruthless ones. He saw kind leaders destroyed by those they tried to help. He witnessed generous people betrayed by the very individuals they supported. And instead of writing another fairy tale about how virtue always wins, he wrote the truth. He wrote The Prince, a manual for survival in a world where good intentions mean nothing if you don't have the power to implement them. 500 years later, nothing has changed. The good person who always helps others gets exploited. The kind person who never says no gets exhausted. The selfless person who puts everyone first gets forgotten. Meanwhile, the strategic person who protects their resources thrives. The calculating person who manages their image succeeds. The selective person who helps only when it serves their objectives prospers. This isn't about becoming evil. It's about understanding that in a world full of people pretending to be good while acting strategically, the person who's actually trying to be good is playing a game they're guaranteed to lose. You're bringing virtue to a strategy fight. You're showing up with morality to a power game. You're trying to win at chess by being the nicest player. The first lesson: your goodness is a performance, whether you admit it or not. Think about it honestly. When you do something good, don't you want someone to notice? When you help someone, don't you expect at least gratitude? When you sacrifice for others, don't you hope it will be remembered? Your goodness isn't pure. It's transactional. You're trading good behavior for social approval, for self-image, for the feeling of being a good person. Machiavelli understood this. Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are. Your goodness is mostly about appearance. You want to be seen as good more than you want to do good. You want the identity of being a good person more than you want the impact of beneficial action. This isn't evil, it's human, but pretending otherwise is what makes you vulnerable. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Everyone else is performing too. That friend who's always there for you. They're building social credit they can cash in later. That colleague who's so helpful. They're creating obligations they'll collect on. That family member who's so generous. They're purchasing influence and control. Everyone's goodness has a price tag. Yours does too. The only difference is that some people are honest about the transaction while others pretend it's pure virtue. Once you accept that goodness is performance, you can start performing strategically instead of compulsively. You can be good when it serves your objectives. You can be kind when it builds useful relationships. You can be generous when it creates valuable obligations. You stop wasting your goodness on people who don't appreciate it and start investing it where it creates returns. The second lesson: genuine goodness requires power, and power requires ruthlessness. This is the paradox that breaks most good people. To do real good in the world, you need resources, influence, and position. But to get these things, you need to be ruthless about protecting your interests, strategic about your relationships, and calculating about your investments. The person who gives everything away never accumulates enough power to make a real difference. Think about the biggest philanthropists in history. They didn't become philanthropists by being nice. They became philanthropists by being ruthless in business, strategic in relationships, and calculating in their rise to power. Only after securing massive resources could they afford to be generous. Their goodness required their ruthlessness. Their charity required their selfishness. Their giving required their taking. Machiavelli put it perfectly. A prince ought to take care that he never lets anything slip from his lips that is not replete with mercy, faithfulness, humanity, and religion, but it is most necessary to seem to have these qualities. Note the word seem. He's not saying don't have these qualities. He's saying that the appearance is what matters politically, and politics determines who gets the power to actually implement good in the world. You can't feed the hungry if you're starving. You can't house the homeless if you're on the street. You can't help the weak if you're powerless. You can't protect the innocent if you're defenseless. You can't change the system if you're crushed by it. Real goodness requires real power, and real power requires choices that good people are usually unwilling to make. The third lesson: being good to everyone means being valuable to no one. When you spread your goodness thin across everyone you meet, each person gets a worthless fraction. Your help becomes common, your kindness becomes expected, your generosity becomes assumed. You become the background noise of niceness that everyone takes for granted but no one really values. Strategic goodness means concentration of force. Instead of being slightly helpful to everyone, be transformatively helpful to a select few. Instead of being mildly kind to all, be deeply loyal to those who earn it. Instead of spreading your generosity like confetti, invest it like capital in relationships and causes that matter. When your goodness is scarce, it becomes valuable. When your help is hard to earn, it becomes meaningful. When your kindness is selective, it becomes special. The person whose help is rare but powerful builds more genuine relationships than the person whose help is constant but weak. Quality beats quantity in goodness, just like everything else. The fourth lesson: your morality is a luxury purchased by others' immorality. This is the hardest truth for good people to accept. The safety that allows you to be good was created by people willing to be violent. The prosperity that enables your generosity was built by people willing to be ruthless. The freedom that permits your kindness was won by people willing to be cruel to enemies. You can afford to be good because rough men stand ready to do violence on your behalf. You can afford to be generous because ruthless people created the wealth you distribute. You can afford to be kind because cruel people eliminated the threats that would destroy you. Your morality is subsidized by others' immorality. Your virtue is financed by others' vice. This doesn't mean morality is meaningless. It means morality is expensive, and someone has to pay the bill. Usually it's the same people who do the dirty work that allows clean hands to stay clean. They carry the moral burden so others can carry moral superiority. They make the hard choices so others can make the easy judgments. Machiavelli understood this completely. Since it is difficult to join them together, it is safer to be feared than loved when one of the two must be lacking. He wasn't advocating for cruelty. He was acknowledging that in a dangerous world, the person who's only good is vulnerable to those who aren't. The leader who's only loved will be overthrown by one who's feared. The nation that's only peaceful will be conquered by one that's warlike. The fifth lesson: selective morality is more honest than universal morality. Everyone has selective morality, whether they admit it or not. You're good to your family but indifferent to strangers. You're honest with friends but strategic with enemies. You're generous to those you like but stingy with those you don't. This isn't hypocrisy, it's humanity. The problem comes when people pretend their morality is universal. They claim to love everyone while obviously preferring some. They claim to treat everyone equally while clearly having favorites. They claim absolute principles while constantly making exceptions. This pretense of universal morality is what makes people vulnerable to manipulation. When someone claims universal love for humanity, they're lying or deluded. When someone says they treat everyone the same, they're deceiving themselves or you. When someone pretends to have no preferences or prejudices, they're either unconscious of their biases or hiding them strategically. Real humans have selective morality. Pretending otherwise is just another performance. Accept your selective morality and use it strategically. Be good to those who deserve it. Be kind to those who appreciate it. Be generous to those who reciprocate it. Stop wasting moral energy on people who don't value it. Stop pretending you care equally about everyone. Stop acting like your goodness is unlimited when it's clearly scarce. The sixth lesson: the appearance of virtue is more powerful than actual virtue. This sounds terrible, but think about your own experience. The people who talk most about their honesty are often the least trustworthy. The people who display their charity are often the least generous. The people who perform their goodness are often the least good. Yet these are often the people who receive the most social credit for virtue. Meanwhile, the quietly good person who helps without announcement gets no recognition. The genuinely generous person who gives anonymously gets no social credit. The actually honest person who doesn't advertise their integrity gets no trust bonus. In the social game, appearance beats reality every time. Machiavelli knew this. Men judge generally more by the eye than by the hand. Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few really know what you are. This isn't an argument against real virtue. It's an observation about human psychology. People judge by appearance because checking reality is expensive and difficult. They believe what they see because verifying what's real takes too much effort. Understanding this gives you options. You can be quietly virtuous and accept that you'll get no credit. You can be publicly virtuous and ensure you get the social benefits. Or you can be strategically virtuous. Real virtue when it matters. Performed virtue when it's useful. The choice depends on your objectives. But pretending that real virtue automatically gets rewarded is just naive. The seventh lesson: your conscience is a weapon others will use against you. Every time you feel guilty, someone benefits from your guilt. Every time you feel obligated, someone profits from your obligation. Every time you feel responsible, someone exploits your responsibility. Your conscience isn't just your internal moral guide, it's a remote control that others can operate. The most successful manipulators don't use threats or force. They use your own conscience against you. They make you feel guilty for having boundaries. They make you feel selfish for protecting your resources. They make you feel cruel for saying no. They turn your morality into chains and hand you the key. knowing you won't use it because unlocking yourself would make you feel bad. This is why good people are the easiest to exploit. Their conscience is hypersensitive. Their guilt threshold is low. Their responsibility acceptance is high. They'll sacrifice themselves to avoid feeling bad about not sacrificing themselves. They'll help others to avoid feeling guilty about not helping. They'll give until they have nothing left because keeping something for themselves feels wrong. Machiavelli understood that conscience is politically dangerous. The promise given was a necessity of the past. The word broken is a necessity of the present. He wasn't advocating dishonesty. He was recognizing that rigid conscience in a fluid world is a disadvantage. The person who can't adapt their morality to circumstances will be destroyed by those who can. Your conscience should be your advisor, not your master. It should inform your decisions, not control them. It should be one voice in your internal council, not the only voice. When conscience conflicts with survival, survival should win. When guilt conflicts with strategy, strategy should prevail. When responsibility conflicts with reality, reality should rule. The 8th lesson. Being good is a privilege, not a virtue. The ability to be good, kind, generous, and moral is a privilege that comes from security, resources, and power. The person who can afford to turn the other cheek has another cheek to spare. The person who can give generously has excess to give. The person who can be kind to enemies has no real threats. But what about the person who's actually struggling? Can they afford to be good when being good means their children go hungry? Can they afford to be honest when honesty means losing their job? Can they afford to be generous when they barely have enough? For them, goodness isn't a choice, it's a luxury they can't afford. This is why judging others' morality is usually hypocritical. The person condemning someone's selfishness has never been truly desperate. The person criticizing someone's dishonesty has never faced impossible choices. The person attacking someone's cruelty has never been cornered. It's easy to be moral when you're safe. It's easy to be good when you're comfortable. Machiavelli lived in a world of constant warfare, betrayal, and struggle. He understood that morality is contextual. Whosoever desires constant success must change his conduct with the times. What's moral in peacetime might be fatal in wartime. What's virtuous in prosperity might be stupid in poverty. What's good in safety might be dangerous in threat. So here's the real lesson. Stop trying to be good according to rules created by people who don't live your life. Stop measuring yourself against standards set by those who don't face your challenges. Stop feeling guilty for making choices that privileged people wouldn't have to make. Your morality should fit your reality, not someone else's fantasy. The 9th lessons, strategic selfishness creates more good than sacrificial selflessness. The person who protects their resources can help more people long-term than the person who gives everything away immediately. The person who builds their power can create more change than the person who remains powerless. The person who prioritizes their growth can lift more people than the person who stays small. Think about airplane safety instructions. Put your own mask on first. This isn't selfishness, it's strategic goodness. You can't help others if you're unconscious. The same principle applies everywhere. You can't support others if you're broke. You can't strengthen others if you're weak. You can't guide others if you're lost. Yet good people are programmed to feel guilty about self-care, selfish about self-investment, wrong about self-priority. They give until they're empty, then feel bad about having nothing left to give. They help until they're exhausted, then feel guilty about needing rest. They sacrifice until they're destroyed, then feel ashamed about needing help themselves. The final lesson, power without goodness is tyranny, but goodness without power is irrelevance. This is the ultimate paradox that Machiavelli understood. Pure power without any moral constraints becomes destructive tyranny, but pure goodness without any power becomes irrelevant virtue signaling. The goal isn't to choose one or the other, it's to accumulate power through strategic choices so you can implement good through effective action. Stop trying to be good in ways that make you weak. Start building power in ways that enable goodness. Stop sacrificing yourself for people who don't appreciate it. Start investing yourself in ways that multiply your impact. Stop feeling guilty for protecting your interests. Start understanding that protecting your interests is what enables you to serve others' interests. The world doesn't need more good people who get crushed by reality. It needs strategic people who accumulate enough power to implement good effectively. It doesn't need more martyrs. It needs more builders. It doesn't need more sacrifices. It needs more victories. Machiavelli's ultimate insight wasn't that goodness is bad. It was that ineffective goodness is worthless. A good person without power is just a victim waiting to happen. A kind person without resources is just sentiment without substance. A generous person without sustainability is just a temporary charity that will soon need charity itself. The choice isn't between being good and being successful. The choice is between being ineffectively good and strategically good, between being sacrificially good and sustainably good, between being performatively good and powerfully good. Stop trying to be a good person according to rules that guarantee your weakness. Start being a strategic person who accumulates the power to do real good. Stop feeling guilty about protecting yourself. Start understanding that protecting yourself is the first step to protecting others. Stop apologizing for your ambition. Start recognizing that your ambition is what will enable your contribution. The world has enough powerless good people. What it needs is powerful people who choose to do good. But you can't choose to do good if you don't have the power to choose. And you can't have the power to choose if you're too busy trying to be good to build power. This is Machiavelli's darkest truth. In a world where power determines outcomes, the person who prioritizes goodness over power ensures that goodness loses. The ruler who chooses virtue over victory ensures that vice wins. The leader who picks morality over might ensures that immorality prevails. Your goodness is meaningless if you're too weak to implement it. Your virtue is worthless if you're too powerless to practice it. Your morality is irrelevant if you're too crushed to maintain it. Build power first, then use that power for good. But if you try to be good without power, you'll end up neither good nor powerful. Drop this in the comments. I choose strategic power over performative goodness. Because from this moment forward, you're done trying to be good in ways that keep you weak. You're done sacrificing your power for moral approval. You're done choosing virtue over victory. You understand that real goodness requires real power, and you're ready to build both strategically.